to like, share and subscribe and press the bell icon.
Hello everyone. So in the previous video we have studied about the elevation in boiling point, and I also told you all that elevation in boiling point is a colligative property. Why it is a colligative property? Because it depends upon the number of solute particles, which may be ions and molecules, but is not dependent on the chemical nature of the solute particles. Then we have also derived a relationship that is elevation in boiling point is equals to Kb into m, where Kb is a abelioscopic constant and m is a molality. Now from this relationship we can also find out the molecular mass of the solute. Now let us see how we can find out the molecular mass of the solute. Now look here, molality m is also given as number of moles of the solute upon mass of the solvent in kg. Now let us first find out how number of moles. Therefore number of moles is equals to mass of solute upon molecular mass. Molecular mass of solute. So here let the mass of the W is equals to mass of solute. Then m dash is equals to molecular mass of solute. Then let capital W mass of solvent. Let us assume all these things. So here from here number of mass of solvent in kg, mass of solvent in kg will be what? That is this capital W upon 1000. Similarly over here number of moles. So let me write down somewhere so that I get sufficient space to show you over here. So number of moles will substitute is this mass W upon this m dash. We get the number of moles. So let therefore molality, that is this m, molality, or we can just show it over here, molality m, that is equals to number of moles, that is small w by m dash upon this mass of solvent in kg, that is W by 1000. So we will be getting this as W into 1000 upon m dash into W. Now let us substitute this relationship into this. Number 1, that is delta Tb, or elevation. Delta Tb is, that is change in the boiling point, which is called as the elevation in boiling point, is equals to Kb into this molality, that is small w into 1000 upon m dash into W. So all these represents I have already written down over here. I am not repeating it once again, otherwise the video will become too longer. So we need to find out this molecular mass of the solute. What we will do, we will bring it over here. So m dash, that is molecular mass of the solute, is equals to Kb into small w into 1000 upon this W, capital W, into elevation in boiling point. So by this way we can find out, we can rearrange it if you want, that is m dash molecular mass of the solute, that is 1000 into Kb into W upon this capital W into elevation in boiling point. Now this is optional. You can just leave it as it is over here, or you can just rearrange it. That is number first followed by all the other parameters. Now from this, that is this particular part, this equation is important. See that you learn this equation because you will be needing this equation for solving the numericals. When I start solving the numericals, see that you make sure that you learn, you go through these equations, because this is what we will be needing. So with this we have completed with the elevation in boiling point. Today we will start with another concept, that is the osmotic pressure. Alright, so let me first, you go through it and then I'll rub it off. Okay, you can take a screenshot if you want, or I'll just rub it off. Next, we move on to the next part of the chapter. Alright, first let me explain you what exactly happens over here, then I will tell you. Okay, so here we are having the pure solvent, and here we are having a solution. Okay, suppose if you are having a container and you fill the container in such a way that the solution, that means which is having the solute particles, is you fill it first and then on the top let there be a pure solvent, which may be a distilled water or any pure solvent. Now what will happen after some time, as these two liquids come in contact with each other, the pure solvent, these will start moving in the downward direction, and the other particles, that is the particles from the solution, will start moving into the upward direction. So this gets mixed up totally until an equilibrium has been attained. That means the particles from both the sides keep on moving until an equilibrium into this container that has been attained. So we can say this movement is bilateral. Movement is bilateral. Okay, there is nothing which is separating this solution, just you have filled a more concentrated solution and here there is a solvent over here, and we find there will be the movement of the particles from this side to that side and from the upper side to the lower side until a equilibrium that has been attained into this container, the solution. Let us consider one more arrangement. We take another container and on one side here we are having a solution, this particular place here there is a solution, and here these are the solvent particles or a pure solvent, which may be a distilled water or any other solvent. So what will happen after some time, the particles from the solvent, now here in this container what we have done, we have taken a semi-permeable membrane. That means these two liquids, they have been separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Now what is the role of the semi-permeable membrane? It allows the flow of solute, it allows the flow of the solvent particles across it and not allowing the solute particles to move across it. That means it will allow the molecules of the solvent to flow, but it will not allow the molecules of solute to be flowing through it. This is the role of the semi-permeable membrane. Now this semi-permeable membrane, either it can be a natural membrane or it can be a chemical membrane. Now if it is a natural membrane, it can be taken from, it can be the vegetable membrane or it can be the animal membrane, or if it is a chemical membrane, then it can be prepared, like it can, there is a cellophane paper which can be used as a semi-permeable membrane, or freshly precipitated inorganic substances, the precipitate of certain inorganic substances such as your silicates of iron, cobalt or nickel. These can be taken as a chemical semi-permeable membrane. So here it has been separated from a semi-permeable membrane, and what will happen after some time, the particles from the solute side, the particles from the solvent side, I made a mistake, the particles from the solvent these particles, they will start coming up on this side. So we'll find that after some time this level of the solution, it rises. This level of the solution rises into this container. So this process, we call this as the process of osmosis. Osmosis. Okay. So this process where it is allowing the solvent particles to move across the semi-permeable membrane, but not the solute particles. When it has been separated by a semi-permeable membrane, this process we call this as a osmosis. So how can we define osmosis? That is a spontaneous flow of solvent. Spontaneous flow of solvent. Spontaneous flow of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane from a pure solvent. From here it's moving from a pure solvent to a solution, or from dilute solution to a concentrated solution, I repeat once again, osmosis, that is a spontaneous flow of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane from a pure solvent to a solution of a higher concentration, or to a solution. When we talk about solution, obviously the concentration is more over here, or from dilute solution to a concentrated solution. This process, we call this process as a osmosis process. Now this, we also see this osmosis process in our day-to-day life, or you can just do it and see it at home also. This can be very well studied in case of the eggs. What you do is you take an egg and you remove an outer covering of the egg. Now that is a hard covering. If you remove, it can be removed either with your hands, or you can take you can dip into the hydrochloric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid, where the outer hard covering will be removed. Now inside that covering serves as a semi-permeable membrane. So what you do is that I'm just rubbing this part. You take 2 eggs and you prepare these 2 eggs in a similar manner, and then at the same time you have a container. Let this container be filled with, okay, here you are dipping your egg. This is your egg, and this is the pure solvent. Let it be distilled water. And after some time, what will happen? Okay, you take another container. Let me show you that also, so that we can differentiate in both the cases. Now this contains what? This contains your salt solution. So this contains the salt solution, and this is containing the distilled water. So what do you expect in this particular case? Now here we'll find, because it is containing the distilled water, that means the solvent particles are more. So this egg will take up the water molecules, that is the solvent molecules, and the size of this egg will swell up. The size becomes bigger. So this was the, look here. So this was the original size. Original size of egg, and it will take up these solvent particles, that is other solvent molecules, water molecules, and will swell up in size. It will grow up bigger in size, and so this is the after we have kept it dipped into the distilled water, the size increases over here. What happens in this particular case? We'll find that after some time, this is the original size, and after some time the size of the egg will decrease. Now why the size of the egg will decrease? because here we are having a salt solution. So whatever that is the egg shrinks in, that is whatever the liquid is, that is the solvent molecules are over there, it will come out until an equilibrium has been attached. So as this will come out, as the solvent molecules will come out, what will happen? And moreover, it is a salt solution, concentration is more over here. So as this solvent molecules will come out, the size of this egg will shrink over here. So we can say the egg shrinks over here in this particular case, that is egg shrinks in salt solution, egg shrinks in salt solution, and here egg swells up in distilled water. So you can see the difference what's happening over here in both this. So here the osmosis has been taking place and it is a movement of the solvent molecules that we can see over here. That is the solvent molecules, they flow where the concentration of the solvent molecules is more, from there it is flowing to the place where the solvent molecules are less. So until an equilibrium has been attained. So I hope it's clear. Now if you just think over this process very carefully, don't you feel that this process, that is osmosis, is somewhat near to or similar to the process of diffusion in gases? Hereby we are studying this osmosis in case of the liquids, but you have already come across the word diffusion, and more particularly we have studied this when we study about the gases. So let us just let us just differentiate what are the differences between both the processes, that is diffusion as well as osmosis, and that's also a part of our syllabus. So let us go through the differences between both of them. You already know what is diffusion. Now I hope you are clear with the idea of osmosis. So we'll just see the differences between both of them. So this is our diffusion, and here we are having the process of osmosis. Okay. Now here in the first case, here it is free mixing of solution without semi-permeable membrane. So free mixing of solution without semi-permeable membrane. Now here is what? Semi-permeable membrane is required. So semi-permeable membrane is required. If semi-permeable membrane is not there, then this osmosis, we cannot call that process as osmosis. Then here, in case of diffusion, that is movement of both solute and solvent particles or solvent molecules, movement of both solute and solvent takes place, but in this case only solvent molecules move through the semi-permeable membrane. I am not writing down the full. There is movement of both solute and the solvent molecules, but here only solvent molecules move through semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane. Let me write down in short. I hope you can understand. Then in this particular case, the third, that is in case of diffusion, solute particles, they will also, as I said, movement of both solute and the solvent particles. So from where, which concentration the solute particles are moving? Solute particles move from higher concentration to lower concentration. Solute particles, they move from higher concentration. Solute particles, they move from higher concentration to lower concentration. So what about the solvent particles? Solvent particles, they also move. So solvent particles move from lower concentration to higher concentration, lower concentration to higher concentration. Clear? That means movement of both. Solute particles move from higher to lower, and solvent particles, they move from lower concentration to higher concentration. Here in this particular case, solvent molecules only move. Solvent molecules move from lower concentration to higher concentration. Solvent molecules, they only move. Suppose if you are having the two solutions, and one of the solution is having a lower concentration and another solution is having a higher concentration. So what will happen? The solvent molecules, they will be moving from lower concentration to the higher concentration. Or suppose if you are having the distilled water and you are having a solution. So what will happen? The particles, as the solvent particles, they will be moving from the solvent towards the solution which is having the higher concentration. I hope you are clear with it. Suppose only the distilled water is there, as I gave you the example some time back, and a solution of the higher concentration is there. So what will happen? It is the solvent particles which are moving. So if the solvent particles are moving, that means it is a liquid which is having only the solvent in lower concentration. Sorry. And it is moving towards a solution which is having a higher concentration. Why it is having a higher concentration? Because it is along with the solvent, the solute particles are also there. So in this way, the movement takes place. At the same time, if you are having two liquids, and both of them, that is, one is at the lower concentration, other is of the higher concentration. So the movement of the molecules from the lower concentration to the higher concentration. That means the solution which is having lower concentration means what? Don't get confused into this. Lower concentration over here means what? The solute particles are less and solvent particles are more. So here when the solvent particles are more, here obviously here the solvent particles in higher concentration, the solvent particles are lesser. So obviously where the solvent particles are more, from there, here the solvent particles are more. So from here it is going to move to this particular place where the solvent particles are less. Don't get confused, students. I hope you are clear with the lower concentration to higher concentration. Lower concentration over here means the place where your solvent molecules are more and solute particles are less. That is a lower concentration. Higher concentration means what? Where your solvent molecules are less and solute molecules are more. That is a higher concentration. Usually people get confused with this particular point. Then fourth point over here, shown by this process of diffusion is shown by solutions and as well as by gases and gases. But here this is shown by solutions only. By solutions only. This is shown by solutions only. Then diffusion, it neither can be stopped nor can be reversible. Neither can be stopped nor reversible. Next, it can be stopped or reversed by applying external pressure. By applying external pressure on the solution of higher concentration. I repeat once again. So it can be stopped, that is osmosis, it can be stopped or reversed by applying external pressure on the solution of higher concentration. So the differences, see that it's a part of the syllabus, so you go through these points carefully. That is, it is a diffusion, it's a free mixing of solution without a semi-permeable membrane. But in this particular case, that is osmosis, semi-permeable is very much required. In case of diffusion, movement of both solute and the solvent molecules, but in osmosis only solvent molecules, they move through the semi-permeable membrane, that is movement of solute particles or solute molecules do not take place. Third point, solute particles move from higher concentration to lower concentration in diffusion. and solvent particles will be moving from lower concentration to higher concentration. In this particular case, the osmosis solvent molecules move from lower concentration to higher concentration. Fourth point, diffusion is shown by solutions as well as gases, and osmosis is shown by solutions only. I have written down solutions in short. Next, diffusion neither can be stopped nor reversible, but osmosis can be stopped or reversed by applying external pressure on the solution of higher concentration. So with this we have completed the differences between the diffusion and osmosis. Next we'll see that how a pressure that has been developed on the process of osmosis and how this process it can be controlled. We'll see just in the next video. Thank you, students. Hello students, so in the previous video we have studied about the process of osmosis. Now let's study this process more in detail. So look here, now this is a container. It has been filled with a particular solvent, and inside this container again there is a small container. This container has been filled with a solution. That means here we are having the solute as well as the solvent molecules, and here we are having only the solvent molecules. Now this has been separated by a semi-permeable membrane. This semi-permeable membrane is a chemical membrane which has been made up of copper ferrocyanide. Now what will happen? That is, now this process, that is as you have studied osmosis. Now this process of osmosis, it takes place spontaneously, but it will not continue indefinitely. That is, after some time the process has to stop. I repeat once again, it takes place spontaneously, but is not going to continue indefinitely. That means after some time it has to stop. Now look here, as these liquids they come in contact with each other, we'll find that initially the initial level of the liquid into this glass tube was at this particular place. And after some time the level of the liquid into this glass tube it rises. That is, this is a final level. And the gap between the initial level and the final level, this is called as the column which is exerting the hydrostatic pressure. Now what is that which is making the solvent molecules to move from this particular place to this inside container? Obviously the solvent molecules, they are having some driving force. Now that driving force is due to what? Vapor pressure. Vapor pressure being exerted on the solvent, and there is also some vapor pressure in the solution, but the vapor pressure on the solvent molecules is more as compared to the vapor pressure on the solution. As the vapor pressure is more, we know as the vapor pressure will be more, the tendency, the driving force of the solvent molecules will be more. So driving force of the solvent molecules is more as compared to the force which has been exerted into this. That is a force, that is a hydrostatic pressure or hydrostatic force which has been exerted into this solution. So this rises, and after some time this stops. The rise into this glass tube, the rise of the liquid into the glass tube, it stops. Now when it stops, when there is an equilibrium has been attained, equilibrium has been attained between the liquid into this container as well as into this container. So we can say that this hydrostatic pressure, we can call it as the also the other word for the hydrostatic pressure exerted over here, that is a osmotic pressure. So which is stopping the flow of solvent from this container to this container. So we can just define osmotic pressure, that is the osmotic pressure of a solution at a particular temperature. The process has to be carried out at a particular temperature. Is the hydrostatic pressure which builds up when the solution is separated from a solvent by a semi-permeable membrane, and which is just sufficient to stop the phenomenon. That is, this hydrostatic pressure is stopping the phenomenon of osmosis. So this hydrostatic pressure which is stopping this phenomenon of osmosis, this is called as the osmotic pressure. That is, after some time the process of osmosis stops. When it stops, when this hydrostatic pressure becomes equal to the driving force which is acting on the solvent molecules. Now let us take another container over here. Again here there is a solvent and the solution over here. Both of them, they have been separated by semi-permeable membrane. Here we are having just pure solvent, only the solvent molecules. Here we are having the solute as well as the solvent. Now here in this particular case, as I already told you some time back, there is a vapor pressure in case of the solvent molecules will be more. Wherever the solvent molecules are there, vapor pressure will be there. If more solvent molecules, more vapor pressure. Less solvent molecules, less vapor pressure. So over here, solvent molecules are more and hence vapor pressure will be more. In this particular case, vapor pressure is going to be less. So because of the vapor pressure, what happens? The liquid, the column into the glass tube falls down, comes down, and the solvent molecules will be transferring to this end. The solvent molecules will be moving towards this end. Okay. Now what we do is that because this piston has been we have put one arranged a piston over here. So with this piston we just apply some pressure, and as the pressure has been applied, we'll find that the movement of the solvent molecules over here will stop. The solvent molecules were moving into this container, into this column over here, but as the pressure has been applied, an external pressure that has been applied will stop the movement of these solvent molecules. So there will not be any decrease into the level of solvent molecules further into this particular container. So that means what? We have stopped the process of osmosis. How we have stopped? By applying an external pressure. So this external pressure is equal to the osmotic pressure. That is a pressure that has been exerting into this column over here, hydrostatic pressure, which is also called as the osmotic pressure. As I have shown you over here, hydrostatic pressure. In this particular case also there is a hydrostatic pressure, which is also called as the osmotic pressure. So when the external pressure becomes equal to the osmotic pressure, we find that this process stops. So we get another definition for osmotic pressure, that is the external pressure applied on the solution, which we are applying over here to stop the phenomenon of osmosis when the two liquids are being separated by a semi-permeable membrane. That is, in the initial case, the process of osmosis was taking place. The liquid column was falling down. But as the pressure has been applied, we will find that the liquid column becomes steady because of this pressure applied over here. So we can say that it is equal to, the osmotic pressure is equal to the external pressure which we are applying on the solution to stop the phenomenon of osmosis when the two liquids are being separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Now, suppose when the pressure applied on the solution, that is this, but you are applying some pressure, when this pressure applied on the solution is greater than the osmotic pressure. I repeat, when the pressure applied on the solution is greater than the osmotic pressure of the solution, we will find that the solvent will flow from this particular end to this particular end. Usually what is happening, we have been watching that the solvent molecules are flowing from the solvent, that is from lower concentration to the higher concentration. But by applying more pressure onto this, if you make the movement of the solvent molecules from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, then this process, we call this as a reverse osmosis. So we can define reverse osmosis, that is when the pressure applied on the solution is greater than the osmotic pressure of the solution. The osmotic pressure which has been exerting on this solution. So when the applied pressure is greater than the osmotic pressure which has been exerted onto this solution by this particular liquid, we'll find that the solvent molecules will flow from solution into the solvent, that is from this particular end to this particular end, when they are being separated through a semi-permeable membrane, and this whole process we call this as a reverse osmosis. So with this we have completed with all the aspects of osmosis. Thank you, students.